Hello guys, welcome to our channel Anime Fantasy. Join us as we explore the world of anime and fantasy and bring you the best stories and discussions. This is the 5th part of What If Naruto Was an Attack on Titan verse, so give this video a like and subscribe for more videos in future. Naruto watched from the sidelines. Pixis addressed 3 of his soldiers, 2 of them he recognized as Rico and Metabi are all here. Pixis began, "You have one mission: protect Iron Eager and eliminate any risks that present themselves along the way. It's the most dangerous as well as most difficult part of this operation. Our success or failure will depend on you. The fate of mankind rests on your shoulders." Rico stepped forward. "Commander, may I ask something?" "What is it? Are we certain about this?" "Pinning our hopes on Jaeger, I mean," she asked. "Don't." Ian tried to interject. Metabi decided to express his own worries. "Sir, please, with all due respect, the kid's abilities are unknown to us. We don't have the first idea what he can or can't do. If he can't lift the rock, or worse, he goes rogue, a lot of lives will be lost for nothing." "You make a good point. Fix this aloud. Perhaps we ought to just give ourselves up to the Titans willingly." The captain startled. "Personally," Pixis continued, "the idea makes me sick. I'm a sore loser. You'd think I'd be used to it. I've been stuck on the losing side my entire life. Just once I'd like to know what victory feels like." "Ask, so do we, sir." Pixis gave them a firm look, tone sharp. "Then betting on him is our only option." "You're right, we know nothing about him, but he's the only chance we have at defeating the Titans." "Gusts have approached, Commander. It's time." Pixis straightened, facing his 3 chosen: Ian, Dietrich, Rico, Brzezinska, Metabi, Jarnak. "You are the garrison's most elite soldiers. I'm entrusting humanity's fate to you, sir." The 3 saluted. Ian. Pixis continued, "You take command. You have full authority out there." "Me, but sir, that's—" "I have no objections," Rico said. "Nor do I," Metabi added. Ian still wasn't sure. "Sir, they are more capable." "Don't worry," Pixis assured. "You're a man who knows his drinks." Ian raised an eyebrow, perplexed. "You can distinguish the high quality from the cheap. I leave it to you." Naruto felt like laughing. "That's how he chooses." After a final salute, they dispersed to start the decoy operation. Now Naruto watched as Ian approached Iron Armin. Mikasa Aran was scowling. Mikasa looked a little sad, and Armin seemed to be trying to calm her. "End down." Was Iron mad? Mikasa about something? Whatever it was forgotten. When Ian announced Mikasa would be joining Irene's guard, she brightened at that. As they separated, Aran and Mikasa following Ian and Armin going his own way, Naruto decided to take his own position above the destroyed gate and hurried after Ian and the others. Naruto POV. Short while later, from his place above the breach, Naruto could see the Titans slowly being led towards the far corners of Trust, the places farthest away from the boulder. It took a while hurting them, but soon enough there was a tidal wave of Titans in each corner, crashing against the walls in a desperate attempt to reach the tiny humans that dangled just a little out of reach. Then a green pillar of smoke shot up into the sky. One of the garrison members next to him watched the proceedings with a spyglass. "The elite force have begun the mission," the man informed. Naruto tried to pick out Aran and his guards moving towards the boulder. Yeah, he could see a small stream of people like a swarm of bees inching nearer the massive rock. Closer and closer. Crack, boom, a bolt of lightning shot down from the heavens, bathing everything in a yellow hue, followed by the sound of crackling thunder. The soldiers next to him gasped. Then a Titan stepped out of the dust cloud. HHH, its roar reverberated across the entire district, making the world tremble. "Holy!" Naruto got that. Had to be one of the coolest things he'd ever seen. "Uzumaki!" a soldier yelled, and Naruto took that as his cue. A second later, 10 clones appeared. Even more gasps behind him. The clones didn't need to be told anything. They already knew what to do. He stepped over the edge, going into a free fall down towards the ground, the clones following suit. Once they touched down, 8 of his clones blasted off into the city, and Naruto turned to the breach. Focused through the hole, he could see Titans coming towards him, the closest only 20 or so meters away. He closed his eyes, felt for his chakra, felt it build up inside. His hands went through the seal's tiger hair. "Boar dog!" he slammed. Soldier yelled. "One at our rear, 2 12 meters tall." Another called out. Metabi turned to him. "In, let's retreat. The plan's a bust." Rico nodded. "I agree." Ian remained silent, thoughtful. "The snap out of it," Metabi yelled, getting impatient. "What are you waiting for? Give the order." He spread his arms beseechingly. "Look, this plan was doomed from the start. It was worth a shot. We did the best with what we had, but it wasn't enough. The only thing we can do now is to get to safety. If we linger, we'll just be wasting more lives for nothing." Naruto noted Mikasa's furious expression at the thought of them abandoning Aran. Ian seemed to have noticed it too and held his hand up to halt any protests on her part. His face contorted as if in an inner discussion. Then with a sigh he spoke. "We'll modify the plan until we can recover Eager. We protect him from the Titans. He holds a valuable potential for humanity. Unlike us, he can't be replaced." Team Rico take out the 12-meter approaching from behind. "Team Metabi and I will handle the 2 front runners." What? Rico rounded on him. "Are you mad? I'm the one in charge now. Do as you're ordered." "Soldier, we're not leaving Jaeger defenseless, period." Ian shouted back. "You can't be serious. You're saying that we should just keep on sending soldiers to their deaths for that failure of a human weapon?" Naruto decided to intervene before it got too out of hand. He agreed with Ian's decision. The lives lost during this operation would be small compared to the lives lost if they failed to seal hole, and the armored Titan appeared. "What's your plan after you leave Iron?" he asked her. Rico glared at him. "What do you mean? Let's say you abandon Aran here. What happens afterwards? Do you have any way of closing the hole and stopping armored Titan from breaching wall rose. If you're asking me how we'll defeat the Titans, then obviously I have no idea, she retorted angrily. You see it's either we find a way to make this plan work or humanity dies. Naruto stated. He's right. Concurred. This is it. This is all we've got. At least with the kid we have hope, and as long as that's the case we're gonna fight to the bitter end. It's like the commander said. He continued, clenching his fists. Look at us always running away, always on the losing side. Pathetic, isn't it? But it's the only thing us humans can do. He met Rico in Matabi's eyes. Don't you want it to be over? Don't you want to make a stand? His voice grew sharp, firm, and unyielding. Well, this is how it's done. This is the only struggle we're capable of. Rico gritted her teeth. I can't accept that. She started walking away. Hey, Ian called after her, but she turned her head and spoke, cutting off his protests. But I think you're right, so I'll struggle until my last breath and show those bastards how fearsome we humans can be. I refuse to let our comrades' deaths be in vain. Leave the 12-meter in the rear to my squad. Ian watched at a loss for words. Matabi headed the other way. Let's go, he said. We're taking the two in the front right, Ian answered, dashing after him. Mikasa and Naruto watched them leave. Then she turned to him. Thank you for speaking up for Eren. Naruto smiled. No problem, he chuckled. Not gonna lie, I thought you might attack him when they suggested we leave Eren behind. He turned to Iron. Defending him is good, but unless he wakes up and lifts the boulder, we'll just keep losing lives. Besides, boss chakra reserves might be massive, but he can't keep that wall up forever. Boss, she asked. The original, it's how we clones refer to him, he clarified. A Titan came out from behind a building 6 or 7 meters at most. I've got it, he told her, halting her midstep. His hands blurred. Futon Shinku Tegioku, the almost invisible vacuum sphere, shot right through the Titan's lower jaw and throat, cleaving through flesh and destroying the nape. The Titan's head from nose up fell and was enveloped by steam. On the street next to them, another one appeared. Mikasa acted quickly, running along the building until she had the angle she wanted, then shot her hooks into its upper back, propelled herself forward with gas whilst reeling her cables, and to get closer. Next moment she slashed her blades and the Titan fell lifelessly. More and more are gonna keep coming, and Iron still down. Naruto muttered, I don't understand, why are they coming here all of a sudden? The others should have been more than enough to distract them, unless they're coming for a raid, she exclaimed. What do you mean? Naruto asked. It was the same name at HQ. After a while the Titans started swarming him. They might be attracted to him somehow. Naruto nodded grimly. That's not good. At that exact moment Armin appeared, sipping into land on a building behind Iron. He stared at Iron's slumped form with wide eyes. Then he saw Mikasa and Naruto. Mikasa, what happened to the plan? Why on earth has he just slumped here like this? Armin, get away from there, it's dangerous, she shouted weirdly. Something went wrong. He lost control and wound up like that. I tried to snap him out of it, but I couldn't get him to respond. He's been out like this for the past few minutes, she explained. But what about the plan? We had to adjust it right now. All we can do is protect him. He's defenseless, but I don't know how much longer we can keep this up. Armin went silent, his mind racing. Then he turned slowly to Iran's Titan, jumped down onto its neck from the back of the head to the nape of the neck, 1 meter long and 10 centimeters across. He drew out a blade and fired a hook into each of the Titan's shoulders. Armin, what are you? Mikasa, Naruto, you just hold off the other Titans as long as you can. But she protested. When Iran first emerged from this form, it was from the weak spot. I'm not sure, but something tells me that it wasn't a coincidence. You're going to cut him out. Isn't that dangerous? You might kill him. Naruto said. It'll be all right, Armin called back, raising his blade. As long as I avoid the center, he won't die. It'll only hurt. He brought it down, cutting straight into the Titan's nape. A bit, Mikasa gasped. Iran's Titan suddenly jerked, then it roared in agony, writhing and flailing, bucking and screaming. Armin held on for dear life. Armin, stop it, you'll get yourself killed, Mikasa yelled frantically, fearing for her friend. Mikasa, go do what you can. If you go, there are lives that could be saved, right? Leave Eren to me and go. She hesitated. He's right, let's go, Naruto said reluctantly. She turned and ran off. Naruto followed. Fourth clone POV. Somewhere in the city he spotted someone on the ground running from a Titan. He squinted his eyes to better make out the person. That's definitely a soldier. They've got gear and everything. There could only be one reason why they didn't escape to one of the roofs. Their gear had to be broken. He dashed after them. The Titan had to be 10 meters at least, and pretty fast too. He didn't walk slowly like most of its kind, but was rather power walking and abnormal. He was almost directly behind. If he used some jutsu and killed it, it might topple forwards and land on the person. He decided to draw its attention. Instead, he sped ahead to a building. The person was about to pass. Wait, that's Jean, isn't it? He recalled now that he had an unobstructed view of his face. Oi, stupid, come get me, he called. And as expected, Jean passed, and the Titan shifted its focus to him. Then when he was sure Jean was out of harm's way, he disposed of it with a quick racing into the nape. Turned back and saw Jean exchanging his gear for one on a corpse. Whoever it was had their upper half stepped on it. Complete crushed, he felt bile rise in his throat at the sight and smell. Thanks, Jean breathed, winded and frazzled. Your gear broken? Yeah, hooks wouldn't fire at the breach with original Naruto. The first clone dispelling had been a surprise. He hadn't, though one would be popped so soon. Its accumulated memories had reverted back to him, and it wasn't looking good. Something had gone wrong. The Ren had been attacking humans. He'd been growling and angry, feral like some rabid beast. Again he saw the similarities. The way Iron was acting, it had been the same way Sora had behaved. Under the Kobai's influence, the same way he himself had behaved. The garrison with him had told him about the red flare, signaling the mission had failed, but the retreat hadn't been called, so he kept the wall up, blocking entrance into city to the Titans. Another set of memories came to him, fighting alongside Team Metabai. One of the squad members had been halfway inside a Titan's mouth, so the clone had rushed to his aid and ripped them out an instant before. Thing's teeth clamped down, dispelling the clone. He shuddered a little. A drop of sweat trickled down his forehead, trailed down his cheek, stopping at his chin, then fell. He had a lot of chakra, but his reserves weren't infinite, and this jutsu wasn't supposed to be used this way. It wasn't exactly a small wall either. He exhaled slowly and refocused on keeping the flow of chakra steady with Ian and the others. 7. Clone POV. Small vibrations shook everything around them. Fud, fud, fud. They looked up at the sound of falling footsteps and saw a massive rock steam rising from beneath it. Naruto's eyes widened at the sight. He did it. Mikasa came a shout, and Armin landed on the rooftop next to her. A moment later, Armin Garen's in control. He came out of it somehow. He's determined to see the mission through to the end. As long as we protect him while he heads for the wall, victory will be ours. Defend him. Ian bellowed the order to the last man. That's what it takes. Aran must reach the gate. I don't want a single Titan anywhere near him. Everyone moved to obey. Then he turned to them. You three, I want you close to him. If any Titans get through, they're yours to deal with. Understood. They moved towards Aran with Rihanna and Bertholds plugging the hole like that. Berthold asked, watching from afar as Aran carried the boulder. They're being too reckless at this rate. Aran might end up getting eaten, and if that happens, nothing will change. Yeah, Rainer agreed grimly. If it comes down to it, I'll just have to do something with my Titan, but if the plan succeeds, they'll manage to close the hole we worked so hard to make. Berthold replied, fine with me. We've finally found what we've been looking for these past 5 years. Rainer noticed someone approaching from in front. Someone's coming, he warned. A lone figure was approaching, and whoever it was moving quickly. That's the Naruto guy, Berthold said, noticing the lack of gear behind them. Another person landed. Hey guys, they tensed. That was unmistakably Marco. You find here? Marco asked. Yeah, we're good. Just stopped a moment when we saw Aran, Berthold said quickly, a drop of sweat beating on his forehead. There, Naruto landed on the roof next to them. You guys good? He asked loudly. Yeah, fine. Rihanna called back. Naruto nodded. Not long now. Soon the hole will be sealed and we'll be done. Stay safe, he said, and dashed off. You too, Marco replied, then turned to Berthold and Rihanna. I'm off. Then don't die. They nodded. Same to you. Marco left, zipping away with his gear. Berthold sighed. That was close. I didn't even hear him approach. Rihanna grunted, crossing his arms. We need to be more careful. Original Naruto POV. There they are. Naruto looked up at the soldier. They're almost here, the man continued. Finally. Naruto, though with relief, took him long enough, he said mirthfully. His legs were starting to go numb and his chakra reserves hadn't been this strained in all his time here. How long till they're here? He asked. A woman with short brown hair answered him. At that pace, maybe a minute or two. Good, he called back. He'd have to keep going until Aran was just about close enough to put the boulder down. There were a ton of Titans on the other side, all pushing and clawing against his wall near Aran and POV. Fighting had descended into chaos. Titans were everywhere. The Titans that had been lured away to the far side of the city had begun wandering off again. They'd begun arriving in waves, groups of 3 and 4 hitting from all directions. Ian watched as the Narutos took down another Titan. He'd almost gawked when he saw 2 of the exact same people standing right there in front of him, but the battle required all of his attention. A lack of awareness could result in his death, so any questions he had at the absurdity were put off until after the mission was accomplished. His comrades were dying left and right. Midavi had been crushed under a Titan's foot. Carl swallowed whole. Richter bit in half with each death. The weight on his shoulders increased. The only thing that kept him from breaking down was the resolve to make sure their deaths weren't in vain. If he had to throw himself down a Titan's gullet to make sure Aran reached the gate, he'd do it. Anything to make sure they succeeded. With Iron now at the whole arm and POV, Armin watched as Aran approached the gate, his thundering footsteps like a countdown. 10, 9, 8. Naruto, he yelled, and Naruto jerked his head around, saw he ran almost upon him, and jumped out of the way. As soon as he did, cracks appeared on the wall he'd made. He gulps. There had to be a lot of Titans on the other side. 7, 6, 5, 4. The wall broke and a horde of Titans toppled through. Too many to count. Some were crushed under the weight of all other Titans. 3, 2, 1. Aran halted right in front, the breached Titans struggling desperately to reach him. Though Irene, he shouted at the top of his lungs. At the same time, the rogue Titan roared, slamming the boulder in place. Blood exploded from beneath it where Titan arms were brutally broken off. The collision shook the city with its tremendous force. He felt tears welling up in his eyes at the sight. A single yellow flare shot up into the sky with Pixis yellow smoke spotted. Sir Anka informed, watching through her spyglass. The mission was a success as the people around them reacted differently. Some cheered, some were stunned, others broke down into tears. Deploy the reinforcements, Pixis commanded. Bring the elite squads home. Original Naruto POV. Iron's Titan sat slumped against the boulder, unmoving. Naruto stood guard ready to deal with any Titans while others recovered. Aran, the remaining Titans are coming. Ackerman, pull back, Rico called. I will once we've recovered. Aran, Mikasa retorted. Then she looked up at Armin. Armin, how is he? Unconscious and scorching to the touch, Armin answered while struggling to pull Iron free. Rico and Mikasa joined him on the Titan's neck. I can't get him free from the muscle. Then we cut, Rico stated. Mikasa tried to protest, but Rico severed muscles in one quick slash of her blade. Armin fell backwards with Aran in his arms. 2 Titans were approaching, but Naruto readied himself to dispose of them. Someone else did it for him. Hooks shot themselves into the first Titan shoulder, and the lone figure came around its neck, a whirlwind of blades severing its nape. The second Titan was dealt with as quickly as the first. They landed softly on one of the steaming corpses, eyeing your ends Titan and the boulder intently. Now that they stood still, Naruto noticed the wings of freedom emblazoned boldly on the uniform's front. right shirt pocket. A man Naruto made out small and black-haired. His gaze lingered on the face for a second, and recognition dawned on him. That was the first person he'd seen when he arrived in this world. The infamous Levi, known as humanity's strongest soldier. Levi's charcoal black eyes came down from Iran's Titan to rest on Naruto. They widened in surprise. It's you. Naruto lay on his bed, confined within a dimly lit cell underneath some building. Inside wall scene, a torch burned quietly in a corner of the corridor, casting everything in an orangish hue. 2 guards stood on each side of his cell door, keeping silent watch over their prisoners. Iran was confined to the cell next to his own and apparently still unconscious from all the strain. Yesterday's events. Naruto sighed. He'd been asked to come quietly, that there would be held a trial to decide what to do with him in Iran. He'd allowed himself to be apprehended just to see if he could come to an agreement with government, seeing as he'd revealed himself anyway. Still, this was boring as hell. He perked up at the sound of footsteps. 2 people by the sound of it coming down the stairs. So the guards saluted and Naruto raised an eyebrow. Somewhat important at ease, a vaguely familiar voice answered, "I'll want a moment alone with the prisoners." The guards left and Naruto sat up in his bed, curious to know who'd come to see him. Measured footsteps approached his cell until 2 figures came into view. The first stood tall, quite a bit taller than Naruto himself, demeanor calm and collected, with blonde hair kept neatly parted on the left side and striking icy blue eyes that held a sort of gray intensity Naruto associated with people in positions of authority. Next to him stood a shorter man with raven hair and a disinterested expression, as if he couldn't care less about being there. Both wore Survey Corps uniforms, sans the green cape worn during missions. Both men Naruto knew and recognized. Erwin met his eyes. Naruto Uzumaki, the Survey Corps commander, took a seat on the chair opposite his cell, back straight and expression natural. "You gave us quite the headache when you disappeared, brats," Levi said, leaning against the dungeon wall with his arms crossed. "But seems you got caught in the end." Naruto raised an eyebrow, bemused. "You realize I can get out of here whenever I want?" Levi didn't respond. "Last time we spoke you couldn't understand a single word we said. You've made remarkable progress during the span of a single year," Erwin pointed out. Naruto grinned, self-satisfied. "Yeah, I picked up some words here and there." Erwin's lip curled upwards, the tiniest smile. "You say you could escape, yet you come willingly. Choose to remain. Why?" Naruto shrugged. "I've got nothing better to do and I'm curious." "I see." Erwin remained silent. "So Naruto decided to ask a question of his own. "So what are they gonna do about me and him?" Naruto tilted his head towards Iran's cell. Erwin sighed. "You are currently in the military police's custody. Your fate will be decided through court by Darius Zackley, the commander-in-chief of the 3 military branches." Naruto nodded. "The pause. What's your objective?" Naruto: "Objective? What is your plan moving forward?" Naruto thought for a moment. "To find a way home." Erwin's eyes glinted in the low torchlight. He picked out a key from his pocket and stared at it intently. "Home? I heard about your home from Commander Pixis. An unlikely story, yet abilities such as yours are unheard of. Tell me, what will you do once you find a way home?" Naruto's eyes narrowed. "Wasn't that obvious? He'd go home, of course, back to Konoha, to his friends. What was the man playing at?" "I'd go home," he answered curtly. "What's it to you?" Erwin's eyes rose and met his own with blazing intensity. "And what of the people you'd be leaving behind?" He was taken aback by the question, but hit it quickly. "What about them?" he asked. "Let's say you find a way home tomorrow. Could you live with yourself knowing that you left innocent men, women, and even little children behind, waiting to be Titan food? You've seen firsthand the horror of Titans and the people living their everyday lives in fear." Naruto molded over. Honestly, he hadn't thought much about it as long for Konoha and his friends had been so strong that he hadn't stopped to actually consider it. But these were people with families and friends of their own. If he left, these people would remain and would most likely be dead within a couple of years. Naruto turned away, hiding the conflicted look on his face. Unable to meet Erwin's piercing gaze, he felt a knot in his stomach, suddenly ashamed of his selfishness. Erwin didn't let up. "I asked because you present very unique opportunity, because your presence could change the tide of this war against Titans." The commander's voice echoed off the dead walls as if taunting him. He knew for a fact that his presence would change the tide of this war, but was this his fight? He knew some of their history, the outside world overrun by Titans, humanity driven behind these walls. He wanted to help, but ridding an entire country or world or whatever of Titan, it's too much. It would take forever. He didn't have time to stay here that long. He had a life to return to, people who depended on him back home, and his dream to become hawkish. "You don't even know me," Naruto bit out. "For all you know, I could be an enemy." Unconvinced, Erwin plowed on. "No, an enemy would have left us to our inevitable demise at the hands of the Titans during the breach. An enemy wouldn't have gone through the effort of saving soldiers and civilians alike." Naruto wavered for a brief moment. He wanted so desperately to go home, and yet Erwin was right. He couldn't leave these people behind to die like lambs to the slaughter. It wasn't right. That wasn't his way. Erwin seemed to sense his moment of hesitation. "Besides, don't you think an alliance would benefit us both if you were to help the scouting regiment? During excursions, we would provide you with all our knowledge of the outside world." Fist clenched, and with a soundless sigh of resignation, he turned back to meet Erwin's gaze head on. He walked up to the iron bars of his cell. "I need information. Everything you've got. I need access to reports, logs, maps. I'll cooperate, but I won't take orders from anyone." His eyes slid towards Levi, and he grinned wide. "Anyone?" Levi's eye twitched visibly. Erwin seemed relieved and slightly amused. "We'll be partners, helping each other," Naruto clarified. When nodded. "We'll share all the information we have then." He smirked knowingly. "But the trial first." "Yes." Naruto nodded and went back to lay down on his bed, arms crossed behind his head. "Yeah, this is the right thing to do. I can't Leave these people to suffer. Sakura had called it a hero complex, wanting to save everyone, being unable to turn his back on others' suffering, and honestly he couldn't deny it, it just wasn't his style. Haku Zabuza and Wave Country Veggie during the 2 and exams, and Gaara at the invasion. Granite soon. Sasuke decides Erwin did make another good point, working together would help him too, even with his shadow clone searching an entire world for a way back to his own would be extremely difficult. He would accept all the help he could get. Ugh, someone groaned in the cell next to him. Iron Naruto realized, where am I? After a brief conversation with Erwin and Levi, in which Eren confirmed that he wanted to join the Survey Corps and that the basement of his old home in Chigan, China might hold answers about the Titans, the two left. Eren eyed one of the guards outside his cell. I need to use the restroom. You just went, the guard answered pointedly, avoiding looking in Iron's direction. Then can I have some water? He tried this time. The other guard answered, you're not getting a damn thing. Got it, the man bit out, voice laced with disgust, then added in a lower grumble, damn monster. The red-eyed is handcuffed with dismay. He could understand why such precautions might be necessary, but still it hurt to be seen and treated like some kind of beast, as if he would go berserk at the drop of a hat and slaughter everyone in sight. Maybe you should consider shutting your trap then. Monsters are dangerous, you know. Someone barked from the cell next to his own. He knew that voice, but from where? Why do you say, you lil oi waltz? First guard warned sternly and shook his head at the other man. There was some quiet grumbling and a few curses, but the guard stopped talking completely. After that, Iron tried to recall who the voice belonged to. Hadn't known anyone else was being kept down here. Who though? Was there someone else who could turn into a Titan? Then he remembered the blonde-haired, blue-eyed guy from Trust, the one who saved Mikasa and Armin's lives. Naruto, is that you? Yep. It's me. Iron felt shocked and was subsequently hit with a pang of worry. Why are you down here? Wait, Mikasa, Armin, are they down here too? Not just us. Eren sagged in relief, concern melting away. But why are you down here? You can't turn into a Titan. Naruto was about to answer but halted when he heard footsteps approach and the door to the dungeon slam open. Suddenly it went quiet, too quiet. Naruto sat up slowly, waiting. With bated breath he blinked, and before he knew it there was a woman hanging off the bars of his cell, brown hair done up in a ponytail and wearing glass. Naruto jumped, his heart nearly exploding out of his chest. Where did she come from? Her face was shoved halfway through, eyes wide and manic like some sort of serial killer. Boruto, she yelled. Long time no see. How have you been? Sorry to keep you waiting, but it seems you're finally getting out on Naruto. Who's? Before Eren could finish his sentence she was gone, and by Iron's undignified squeak that sounded more like a little girl than a teenage boy, she'd managed to scare the wit out of him too. The Ren, right, I heard you can turn into a Titan. I can't wait to study you in detail. I am not sure. Ignoring Irene's response, she continued and hand Zoe a Survey Corps squad leader. Then she gestured to a tall blonde-haired man whom they had missed completely in the wake of her eccentric entrance. And this is Mike. Sakura is also a squad leader. We're gonna escort you to the courtroom, but first she lifted a pair of handcuffs. You'll both have to put on these. After exiting the dungeon they were led by Hange and Mike. Though a long corridor, the interior career was bare but clean and somehow added a certain amount of intimidation. Knowing they were heading to their own trial they walked in relative silence until Mike leaned in close to Eren and sniffed. Eren flinched away and Naruto did a double take. The hell? Hands took notice and explained to mind him, he makes a habit of smelling people he's just met. Mike grinned like some creep, then smirking like that Naruto dodged Mike's attempt at smelling him. Oh, I ever heard of personal space? Hands laughed at their antics. Don't worry, I don't think he does it to be derisive. She came to a stop in front of a large finely carved oak door with long vertical iron handles. Oh, we're already here. Sorry, I got caught up in our chit-chat. Well, I'm sure it's fine. It's probably better if I don't explain anyway. Before they could protest, they were ushered inside by two guards with only a parting good luck from Hange. All talking ceased abruptly once they entered, so quiet in fact that you could have heard a needle drop. An enormous courtroom with a massive wooden dais, the front overlooking all Nelson room. The seat at the top was where exactly would sit. Above the dais hung the 4 military emblems: Training Corps, Military Police, Garrison Regiment, and Survey Corps. Naruto examined the room itself. Smooth marble walls, wooden furniture made of wonderfully sculpted mahogany, and the ceiling decorated with a painting of a group of men brutally assaulting a person prone on the ground. Rows of benches around the dais formed a square, and in the center a small concrete platform. Naruto instinctively knew that was where he and Eren would have to stand, where they could be scrutinized and would have to crane their necks to look up at Judge. All heads in the room turned to the pair of them, and Naruto made mental note of their appearances: nobles, merchants, priests, soldiers of every branch, and even some that looked like ordinary civilians. The guards led the two of them to the platform. On your knees now, Waltz ordered Eren, and the teen knelt, albeit grudgingly. A tall iron pole was placed, though his arms and handcuffs trapping him in place. He wondered if he would be required to do the same, but the guards just left and he remained standing. Naruto searched the courtroom until his eyes landed on the Survey Corps. Erwin and Levi had been expected, but seeing Mikasa and Armin was a surprise. Perhaps it shouldn't have been. They were Iron's closest associates after all, and had defied their superiors to defend him. Naruto smiled in their direction. Armin answered with a timid smile of his own. That was when Sakli entered the room. Everyone stood up as was proper in court and sat. Once Sakli finally took his seat, he was an older-looking man with slicked-back silvery hair, neatly trimmed beard. He exuded an air of authority and importance, but wore modest clothes, no jewelry or over-the-top expensive dresses like Naruto had seen some nobles wear. Just a simple shirt and pants held up by suspenders. The man took some time organizing his papers, rolling up his shirt sleeves, then fixing his glasses before he began. "All right, let us begin," the man rumbled, voice deep. "If your name is Orenegger," Zachary addressed Iron, "and as a soldier you have sworn to give up your life when called for the good of the people, is that correct?" "Why, yes, sir. As an enlisted soldier during time of war, military doctrine demands your tribunal be held as a court-martial. As commander of our armed forces, this matter is left to my discretion," the man informed matter-of-factly. "Any objections?" Baron shook his head. "No, sir." Exactly nodded. "Your willingness to cooperate is appreciated. Let us proceed as expected. Covering up your existence has proven fruitless, and unless we publicly disclose your existence one way or another, we risk outbreak of widespread civil unrest. A choice must be made, and the regiment that takes custody of you will determine your fate." Iron swallowed nervously. "First, however, while we have witnessed reports of your actions as a Titan, there are still parts of the events during Trust that don't add up." He picked up a piece of paper. "I have here reports that state you are presumed dead by many of your comrades." His eyes landed on Armin. Cadet Armin Arlert. Armin straightened. "You have been called in as a witness. You are the only member of the 34th Cadet Unit except Eager himself that survived it. Says in these reports that it was you who claimed all of your squad mates dead, Iran included. How did you come to such a conclusion?" Armin felt his heartbeat increase. The image of Iran missing one leg, covered in blood and cotton jaws of that bearded Titan was haunting enough to give him nightmares. To top it off, he'd never been too good with crowds. The pressure always got to him. His hands felt clammy, and there was a familiar knot in his stomach. But one look at Iron, shackled and at risk of being executed, firmed his resolve. He took a deep breath and centered himself. "Sir, after the initial appearance of the colossal Titan, we were ordered by our superiors to help the vanguard keep the Titans at bay long enough for the populace to evacuate. Our unit was one of the first to head out. However, before we got there, Thomas Wagner, a close friend, was caught by an abnormal beneath." And Armin recounted somberly. The Wren's head fell at mention of their late comrade, seeing that Irene charged the Titan, and in the battle that ensued all our teammates were lost. Iran himself had his leg bitten off by another Titan. I was caught by a 15-meter, about to be swallowed alive when Iron able to hoist me out at the cost of taking my place. Fear when the Titan bit down, his arm was cut off, and though he was lost. Armin sounded as if recalling the event physically pained him. "Naruto didn't blame the guy, I see," Zachary said, and let the silence linger for a moment in respect for the fallen. Turning back to Iron, Zachary raised an inquisitive eyebrow. "Cadet Eager, if what Arler told us is indeed true, that I am curious to know how you survived being devoured by a Titan, missing an arm and leg. No less." Naruto himself was interested in knowing how. "I remember lightning coming down when he transformed during the operation to seal the breach, but I didn't see anything similar before that." "And how would he even transform while inside the Titan's belly? Wouldn't expanding his body inside such a small space crush him, or did the stronger Titan just win out?" "I do remember Iron's Titan being way more muscular than the others." The Wren paled at the memory. He'd tried to repress them, but it all came back to him clear as day. The image of mutilated bodies and body parts floating around in a pool of blood that threatened to drown him inside his fleshy prison. The metallic stench of blood that clogged his lungs. That woman's head floating right in front of him, tears trickling down her face as she called for her mother. A wave of nausea washed over him, and he withheld the urge to puke. Taking a steadying breath, he spoke. "I remember being inside the Titan's stomach, all the blood and people. I remember the anger, and something inside me snapped. Then the next thing I know, I'm surrounded by soldiers on every side. A cannon pointed directly at me. That's all, sir." Zachary watched him intently, observing his body language. Going over his story, Iran had hoped to see some sign that the man believed him, but couldn't glean a thing past Zachary's stony facade, claiming ignorance. "Do you think you can fool us with such nonsense?" a civilian-looking man barked from the crowd. Zachary raised a hand, and he sat down quietly. "While there is no proof to confirm or disprove your statements, the fact remains that you and Armin are the only ones who can speak to those events. With that cleared up, we can move on," Zachary said, interlocking his fingers under his chin. "The military police will now present their case." A tall black-haired man in military police uniform stepped forward. "Thank you. My name is Naldok, commander of the military police. Our recommendation following a thorough examination of his physiology is that Iron Eager should be disposed of immediately. We acknowledge that Eager's ability played a part in turning back the latest Titan incursion. However, as has been stated, his mere existence is creating a swell of rebellious sentiment. For the greater good, after we have gathered all the information that we can from him, we would see him made a fallen warrior of humanity." Naruto could see the merit of such a plan, but it only solved the short-term problem of civil unrest, while ignoring the long-term problem of humanity's survival. "Unacceptable!" A priest yelled. "This verminous fiend has defiled the mighty wall. Oh, great! A wall cultist!" Naruto fought with a tinge of annoyance. They had been popping up everywhere recently. Zachary called for order, and the priest quieted. "And now I'd like to hear the scout regiment's proposed plan." "Yes, sir." Irwin stepped forward as the commander of the survey corps. Irwin Smith proposed the following: "Let Iron join our ranks, reinstate him as a full member of Scouts, and we will utilize his Titan ability to retake Wall Maria." "That is all." Zachary raised an eyebrow. Is that it?" Naruto was surprised by the short and straight-to-the-point answer. "Yes, with his assistance I'm certain we can reclaim Wall Maria. The ceiling of trust speaks for itself, ergo I believe our top priority is perfectly clear." Zachary nodded thoughtfully. "Fight bold. Assuming you were given clearance, where do you Plan to launch this operation from Commander Pixis. The wall and trust district has been completely sealed. That correct? Yes, I doubt its gate will ever open again. Pixis answered. Will depart from Karenese district. East from there will make for Shijin, China. A new route can be established as we proceed or when. Explained. But that's ridiculous, a merchant exclaimed. Our time and money would be better spent sealing up all gates. They're the only parts of the wall that the colossal titan can break. Right, let's reinforce the blasted things. Wash our hands of the entire affair. Shut your mouth, you spineless merchant dog, one of the scouts shouted back angrily. With the titan on our side, we can finally return to Wall Maria. We can't afford any more of your childish antics or your delusions of grandeur, the merchant hollered. Levy scowled, squealing louder won't help your case, pig. While we're bolstering our defenses, do you think the titans are going to stand idly by? And when you say we can't afford, do you speak for anyone other than your fat merchant friends? Caillou pigs even realize that most of our people are struggling just to survive off what little land we have left, and simply saying that sealing the gates is the only guaranteed protection we've got. The merchant responded weakly at the mention of seal killing the gates. The priest from earlier took offense. Hold your tongue, you vile belligerent heretic. Are you really suggesting that we lowly humans meddle with Walrus, a gift to us from on high? The wall is a miracle and its divinity transcends human comprehension. Don't you understand? Naruto watched the merchants and wall cultists bickering like dogs over a bone, all of them vying for whatever would benefit themselves the most. Order, exactly, boomed, slapping the table to drown out noise. When they finally settled down, he continued, I ask that you save your personal sentiments for a more appropriate venue. Now then, Mr. Yeager, I have a question for you. As a soldier, you have made a solemn pledge to answer humanity's call. Can you still serve by controlling your ability? Yes, it will, sir. Aaron answered hastily. Oh, is that so? But you just said yourself that you couldn't recall ever transforming, and this report from the sealing operation also contradicts the statement. Just after transforming, it seems you tried to crush Mikasa Ackerman. That took the wind out of him. Aran's head whipped around to look at Mikasa, his eyes wide and disbelieving. And who is this Mikasa Ackerman? Exactly asked me. That would be me, sir, Mikasa answered quickly, stepping forward. All right then, is it true that Aran eager assault while he was in Titan form? Mikasa bit her lip and answered after Rico whispered something to her. Yes, Mikasa answered, her voice small. There were murmurs and gasps from the audience, and Iron seemed as shocked as they were. I knew it, he's a wolf in sheep's clothing, someone accused. She felt a pang of worry that they might judge Aran off that alone. She added swiftly, however, he also saved my life twice before, and in each circumstance he was using his Titan ability. The first shortly after Trost fell and was nearly killed by a Titan, but then Iron came, he stepped in and protected me. The second time he transformed to shield Armin me from cannon fire. I implore you to take these facts into consideration. Objection. Nile called. I have reason to believe that personal feelings play a large part in her testimony. Let the record show that Mikasa Ackerman was orphaned at a young age and was subsequently taken in by the Eager family. What's more, our own internal investigation into this matter led to a most shocking discovery. The man paused for dramatic effect. The renegar Mikasa Ackerman, at the tender age of 9, dealt with 3 adult kidnappers by stabbing all of them to death. Granted, this was done in self-defense. All the same, one cannot help but question the violent nature of the act. Knowing all this, should we really invest in him? Money, manpower, perhaps the very fate of us all? That tidbit of information took Naruto by surprise. 3 men at the age of 9, even back home, that was young. At least in Konoha. Sure, they were taught how to kill in the academy, but the first kill usually happened as a gen on which you only became a 12 unless you graduated early. Not that he thought worse of them for it. Whoever had tried to kidnap 2 9-year-old kids probably deserved it. Maybe he's a Titan that snuck in here after taking the form of some little child. He ate someone from the audience cried. Then the man turned on Mikasa. Maybe she's one too. I bet she's not human either. Yeah, you're right, another agreed. Dissect her too just to be safe. The Ren startled, fear concern gripping his heart with icy fingers. What, hold on a second, maybe I'm a monster, but you leave her out of this. She's innocent, like we'd trust you. It's the truth, Iron shouted back, frustration mounting. She must be one if you protect her. Lauren gritted his teeth. Stop it, he yelled so loud that the audience was shocked into silence. You're wrong about it all, but you're so intent on pushing selfish agendas that you're blind to what's in front of you. What, none of you have even seen a Titan, so why are you so afraid? Haran continued. There's no sense in having power if you're not going to use it to fight. If you're too scared to fight for your lives, fine, let me do it. You're all cowards, just shut up and put all your faith in me. The silence that ensued was broken by Niles' outraged cry, take aim, damn it. His soldiers hurried to follow the order, and a dozen guns were leveled in around. Naruto was out of firing range the instant the order was given. Wary of a possible altercation, it was unnecessary though, because Levi had already kicked Aran so hard across the face that it sent a tooth flying. The act made all season their tracks. Stunned, Naruto watched silently. You know, personally I think nothing instills discipline like pain. Levi's voice promised just that, pain. You don't need a good talking to. What you're in need of, boy, is to be taught a lesson. And you happen to be in perfect kicking position. What ensued could be described as nothing short of brutal kicks, knees stomping. By the end of it, Aran was wheezing, almost unconscious, and bleeding all over the floor. And now hold on, Levi, Nile cautioned. What is it? It's dangerous. What if he gets angry and turns into a Titan? Levi scuffed. Don't be silly. After all, you guys want to dissect him, don't you? Naruto watched it all unfold. Levi was right. How they expect to dissect Iran, did they think Iran would just take whatever they did to him lying down? If I were to be executed, I'd rather go down fighting than bow my head and accept my sentence like some common dog. Besides, Iron had a point. He was useful just cause they'd lost the will to fight didn't mean they had to hinder him. What was there to lose anyways? They were pretty much doomed. At least with Iron they had a fighting chance during the time that he was transformed. Levy continued. They say that Eager was able to kill 20 Titans before he finally ran out of strength as an enemy. His intelligence makes him all the more dangerous, but I could still take him down without a problem. How many of you can say the same before you torment the beast? You'd better think, can you actually kill him? Naruto pondered that. Was that why Erwin hadn't felt the need to actually go into detail about his plans? Because he was confident in fact that the Survey Corps was in fact the only regiment with the skill required to contain someone like Iran. Erwin spoke up suddenly. Sir, they have a proposition. Proceed. There's still too much we don't know, and no doubt his danger will be ever present. As such, I suggest this Iran nigger will be placed under Captain Levy's supervision. We'll conduct a recon mission outside of the wall. Zackley leaned and slightly interested. Eager will join you in this excursion. Yes, then you can look upon the mission's results yourself, and if he successfully controls his ability, Iran will have proven his value to mankind. He will be closely supervised. For when nodded. And if he should lose control, Levy answered, this time I can definitely kill him if it comes to that. The only downside is there is absolutely no Middle Survey Corps to conduct this excursion. His fate will be decided by the outcome. Zackley finalized. With this matter settled, we will take a short break, then reconvene to discuss the matter of Naruto Uzumaki. That said, Zackley stood and walked out. Iran was released from his bonds and helped out the courtroom. Thank you for watching. Make sure to subscribe and hit the notification bell so you never miss a video, and comment down your opinion on this video. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next one.